Eddington is a 2025 American film directed by Ari Aster and stars Joaquin Phoenix, Pedro Pascal, Emma Stone, and Austin Butler. The plot follows a clash of opinions between a small-town sheriff and the mayor during the height of the pandemic. It's a very satirical, dark comedy, but also a neo-Western film, and very much designed to push people's buttons, maybe, make them a little uncomfortable, maybe to say the least for some people, I'm sure. And I gotta just say this, get this out of the way real quick. If you're the type of person that uses the word woke frequently, I know I've ranted about this before, but this might not be for you. This review, or I mean, not so much the review, but the movie itself. That's just my opinion. I mean, most of the story is about the way that people reacted, to the global pandemic that we all faced, and how divided we are on what to do and how to handle it, and let's face it, here in the U.S. we still have not fully recovered. Now, the funnest part, for me while watching this was constantly reminding myself that this is essentially a Western film. So, like, whenever new characters would come into play, I tried to imagine what their, roles would be if this were an old school OG Western film. Most Westerns were pretty cut and dry as far as who they wanted you to think the good guys were and who, they wanted you to think the bad guys were. Especially the American stuff, of course. The Italians were a little better at giving us, grittier characters and heroes who often, kind of ride the fine line of being a borderline villain. And this film goes in that direction, I would say, but with a bit of a modern twist, of course. The film takes place in the fictional town of Eddington, Arizona, with most of the filming taking place in the Albuquerque area. So that's cool that, for once, we get a film that, it was actually filmed in the place that it, or at least in the area that it's supposed to take place. So I liked that. And going from what I know, or what I knew going in, I did assume that this would be kind of a classic good guy versus bad guy story, which was kind of a dumb assumption, considering that this is an Ari Aster film after all. The two main characters and rivals for many, many years are Sheriff Joe Cross, played by Joaquin Phoenix, and Mayor Ted Garcia, played by Pedro Pascal. I think it could be kind of up to you, maybe, as far as to who you think is good and who you think is bad, but I also think that there is not really a clear answer, because I think Joe and Ted are both very flawed people, and I think that you'll kind of sympathize with both of them at times. I personally thought that, watching this through the eyes of people, back in 2020, when the pandemic was still fresh, was an oddly genius idea, because we already, as viewers watching this, we know the outcome, but the characters do not. And I really believe that this film is all about the gray areas. Not a lot of it is black and white, especially when it comes to the two main characters. Ted and Joe, the two most important people in town, really, they don't see eye to eye. And Ted is up soon for re-election, so Joe decides to, run for mayor, thinking that he could probably do a better job. Ted, I think, kind of represents those of us who took the pandemic very seriously, but, is also kind of smug, and, he abuses his power when it suits him. And his campaign, or part of his campaign, also permits him to allow a data, tech center to be built in Eddington, showing that he is likely in bed with big tech money and all that, and likely does not really have the people of Eddington as his priority. Joe, on the other hand, refuses to enforce the mask mandate, in the state of Arizona. And, I'm not going to go back and edit it or restart this review, but I realized that I did say that Eddington is supposed to take place in Arizona. It's actually New Mexico. So, sorry about that. But anyways, yeah. So Joe believes that to enforce the mask mandate would be a rights violation. We all remember this. He does have an ongoing personal beef with Ted, more from the past or whatever, but he lets his dislike of him kind of cloud his moral compass, I would say. Something a good sheriff really should never do. And so, like with any great Western, this film is kind of a powder keg, right? With the tension just ramping up minute by minute. And also, like any great Western, you need a great cast of very diverse characters. My personal favorite addition was the Native American tribal police officers, since Eddington shares a border with the Pueblo Native American reservation. And they aren't real fond of Joe. I mean, he doesn't really respect their requests to follow the mask's mandate, when he's on their land. And they make it clear that he's pretty much really never there to provide backup when they've needed it in the past. And then you've got the like mysterious drifter character, in Austin Butler. He's like a popular online cult leader type dude. In most movies, I'd say that his character would be pretty unnecessary. But here, I think he works even if he wasn't really that important to the plot. And of course, one more thing that every great Western needs is an outlaw of some sort. And here we get like a group of them, as what I assumed were like either Antifa or just political extremists in general. I think Antifas. I don't think they ever outright called them that. Maybe they did. I don't know. But I think that's what they represent. So I'm going to give Eddington a 7.5 out of 10. I do love Ari Aster. I still need to see Beau is Afraid. I'm working on that. And I liked Eddington quite a bit. Not quite as much as Midsommar, and nowhere near as much as Hereditary. And of course, I've been noticing, that this movie is stirring up a bunch of shit online. Not surprising at all. I guess, for a film written to provoke pretty much everyone, I mean, it is definitely interesting to see people draw conclusions, with the story or reach really fucking far, like NPR's review saying that it's kind of got racist undertones, because they didn't think that the only black character in the film didn't have a lot to do or a lot of character development, which he does. So I didn't really get that. Shitty review, but I think we still need to stand up for NPR. And I guess there are also people that are like calling this film right-wing trash. And I guess I just didn't walk away with that at all. And I'm especially sensitive to that kind of thing in today's political climate. So I don't understand those accusations or those interpretations, I should say. Not accusations. I just didn't get that at all from this. I doubt Ari Aster would intentionally even do something like that. My opinion, which is what we're here for, right? I guess my opinion is that this film aims to point out, the hypocrisy of people on both political sides. The ending, I would say, was maybe a bit on the nose. I think it was kind of like intentionally making comparisons to like both Joe Biden and Donald Trump. But yeah, a little too on the nose. I didn't really think the ending was that great. But overall, I really enjoyed Eddington because, all great Westerns need a hero. And I think that the hero of this film was chosen in a pretty clever way. Here, we got to see Ari Aster do something very different compared to what he's done in the past. And I think it paid off. But it is a very, very divisive film. And it's obviously pissing off, knuckle draggers who only act emotionally. That said, I really would like to hear your takes on Eddington. Let me know what you think, or let me know if you think I'm wrong. I won't hate you. I know it sounds like, I might come after you if you don't have a certain opinion, but I'm not that way at all. I think it's just kind of the way people interpret this film will, I think, reflect their true nature, I think. I don't know. That's debatable, too. There's a lot to debate here, I think. And, if you've seen this, let me know what you thought. Do you think I'm wrong about some things? I didn't really go hard on, my personal opinion on every little detail of this film. But, it'd be an interesting one to talk about. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.